Hello and welcome back to Off the Hook Crochet with Nicole, and today we're going to be talking about another one of my favorite crochet designers. And I have to tell you, I love featuring these crochet designers. It's a little bit selfish of me, but when I get to feature these designers, I'm hoping that more people check out their patterns, which means they're going to continue to make patterns that I love. So yes, I'm kind of selfish. Now, what I look for when I'm looking for crochet designers is somebody that has a very classic style that isn't like over the top. I don't want to draw tremendous amounts of attention to myself. I don't want those kind of pieces most of the time. Now, every now and again, one is nice to throw in, but I want something that's going to be more everyday style, that's comfortable and yet classy. And that can have a pretty broad definition. I mean, I don't necessarily need it to be something that is extremely over the top, just a t shirt or something like that. But at the same time, I don't need it to be like business casual, but somewhere in the middle of that without drawing a lot of attention. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, but that's kind of what I look for. And then I also want designers who have a lot of spring and summer wear in addition to some of that fall and winter wear. A lot of designers, really rely heavily on the fall and winter, but because my spring and summer kind of last 8 to 10 months out of the year, I need to have more clothes that are designed in those seasons as opposed to more clothes that are designed for the warmer weathers or the colder weather seasons. Warmer garments for colder weather, right? So, those are some of the things that I look for. Now, it's a huge bonus to me if they are easy patterns that don't require a lot of stitching or they're very beginner friendly, and really a big bonus if they're free. I'm willing to pay for patterns, but free is really great for me. So I love me a good deal, a good bargain. Yes. Let's hop over to my latest favorite crochet designer, Kiks and Jack. Okay, so here we are on the Kiks and Jack Ravelry page. I like to really highlight the designers on Ravelry because then I can kind of browse them in a way that I already know what the layout is. Now, most of these designers have either an Etsy page if they have paid patterns, or they have their website, and Kiks and Jack is no different. You can go to kiksandjackcrochet.com, and that's Kiks and spelled out jack.crochet.com. You can see it right here. But I'll also put it, oh, maybe you can't because my head's in the way. There we go. You can see it right there. And I will put it in the notes below for sure. But in order to be able to kind of go through these in a way that I already know what the layout is, I love to really highlight Ravelry. And while you're at it, make sure that you send me a friend request on Ravelry. That way we can kind of keep track of each other's patterns and what we're doing. And whenever you decide to make one of these patterns, we can get together and share some notes. There you go. All right, so let's dive in here. Now you will see a very definite theme with her patterns in that she does a lot of lacier style. Now, these aren't like super lacy for the most part. I mean, certainly she has some that are super lacy, but overall, it's more of a mesh. I guess mesh is really a better word for it. You'll see a lot of mesh in her designs. But one of the things that I love about her designs is that they are sort of similar with some really nice differentiating touches to them. So you'll see that she does similar kinds of concepts, and part of that's because she does what's called made to measure. So rather than just having sizes listed, she actually tells you how to make the pattern to your measurements. But don't be afraid of that because that's actually a very beginner friendly method to do. So it actually often works to your benefit to do a made to measure as opposed to a sized pattern. You will find that it's easier to get a garment that fits you well when you do this sort of method. So let's dive in with some of her patterns. A lot of her work will either be sport or DK weight, or on the other end, she does a lot of Aran weight, kind of worsted Aran weight type yarn weights. And she does a lot of budget friendly yarns. She uses a lot of the Lion brand or Hobie brands. And that's really nice because if you're finding a free pattern, you also want to have yarn that is very budget friendly instead of some of the higher end yarns that make garments look stunning but might be out of the reach for you if you don't have the budget for those kind of, $30 a skein yarns. So you can check out most of her patterns are going to have really that under $8 a skein kind of yarn. So that's a huge benefit. Now this Crochet is Love is super cute. She does a lot of long sleeves. She does have some short sleeves. But one of the nice things is whether it's long sleeve or not, you can actually modify the length on all of hers because it's made to measure. You can modify different things really easily. So if you want a shorter sleeve, you can absolutely make this a short sleeve. If you want it to be a crop length, you can totally make it a crop length. This Crochet is Love is really neat because she does different stitches throughout and just kind of rotates through them. So you don't get bored. You're not doing the same stitch over and over and over again. You actually have to, really look at what you're doing, and it gives it a lot of detail without actually being complicated. And you will notice, like I said, a lot of her designs are more mesh friendly. One of the things that I learned at some point, not soon enough, was that mesh is actually my friend. I was afraid of making mesh tops because I'm like, well, then they're going to see my bra underneath, and I really don't want to have to wear a tank top underneath and have that many layers because I live in where it's 110 degrees. But what I've learned is that the mesh is really just what's that word? It's just a cover. That's not the word I'm looking for. It's an accent piece. The tank top underneath is just the base layer. That's what's kind of keeping you, snug and warm if you need to be warm or whatever the case may be. But the mesh top is just kind of that decor that goes on the tree. I know I'm usually really good at analogies. That's a bad one. But anyway, so once I sort of embraced the idea of wearing tank tops underneath, it became a great addition to my wardrobe because I can swap them out. I can wear different, camisoles or I'm struggling with that word. Anyway, maybe Farrah will pop in and tell me what that word is because I don't know what it is right now. So yeah, really look to some of these, even if you don't like to, kind of show your bra from underneath the mesh top. That's okay. Just throw on a camisole or a tank top or even a sweater, not a sweater, a t-shirt, sort of a not loose, but a kind of a closer fitting t-shirt underneath the garment, and you will be good to go. And I love, love, love her use of stripes. I don't see stripes in a lot of patterns that are beginner friendly because people sort of shy away from the, weaving in all the ends. And I will give you that weaving in ends is not that much fun. But I think that the stripes add so much character to a top. And when I'm looking for those garments that feel like they're store-bought, but have a touch of that homemade element to it, stripes add a lot of that for me. So I love having patterns with stripes. Now, the nice thing is, if you don't want to do the stripes because you don't want to tie in all the ends, you don't have to do the stripes. If you feel like stripes aren't flattering on you because you're a larger sized woman, you don't have to do the stripes. You can just do a solid color all the way down. But this pattern gives you the option, excuse me, if you are not adventurous enough yet to do stripes on your own, then this pattern and some of her others will actually walk you through that process. She does have a lot of really nice cardigans that are just perfect for that kind of when the air conditioning kicks on, or we here in Arizona, we call them our grocery store sweaters because you go from 110 degrees in the parking lot to 65 degrees in the grocery store and you freeze your cojones off. So you need something to throw on when you go in that grocery store. These sweaters are perfect for that. They're quick and easy to whip up. This actually uses a beautiful bulky weight yarn. So it's going to be soft and luscious. And oof, I just love me a nice cuddly sweater. See like this one here, back here? Can you see it? Yeah. Check out some of my other videos and you'll learn about that one. And this one is a great mesh top that would be perfect as kind of a bathing suit cover up. She has a lot of these that would really work for that kind of summer evening as it goes from the daytime and you're warm and you're at the beach. And now you're going into the evening when there gets to be just a little bit of chill in the air and you want to throw something on over your bathing suit. She has several of those top options and this is a super cute one. All right, so let me pick this Collins, however you say that. I don't think Collins is right. Colon would be bad, but maybe that's how, I don't know. Anyway, the easy 3/4 sleeve crochet top. Now, I was talking to some ladies, some older ladies recently, and they were saying that they don't like the short sleeve tops like this because they hate their arms. They've kind of got the turkey wing arm and all that kind of good stuff going on, so they just don't like their arms, so they like to have the longer sleeves even in the summer. Something like this would be perfect for that, and it just gives you enough coverage if that's not your favorite feature is your arm, which I don't love my arm, but it's not bad. It's not great either, so but I'm fine with it. It is whatever, but this is a great option if that's kind of that ticks your box and you say, I don't like short sleeves. Now, I did want to bring up something. You will see here on this pattern that she's wearing this off the sleeve. I want to let you know that if you are like seeing patterns that, I said off the sleeve, I meant off the shoulder. If you're seeing patterns that are off the shoulder and you immediately nix them because they're off the shoulder, here's the thing. Most of those patterns can easily be modified so that you just seam the neck up higher and leave a smaller neck opening so that it doesn't fall off your shoulder. That is a totally easy thing to do. Now, a lot of them are kind of geared towards that Gen Z millennial where they kind of like the off the shoulder, but if you're like me in that bucket where, I'm not going to pull off the off the shoulder look anymore, it's okay. Just seam the neck up a little bit more and you're good to go. And this one, I also have to say, so one of the things that I love about Kiks and Jack patterns, the designs are very, very modern, very classic, but modern. I don't know if, you know what, I'm not a designer, so I'm not a fashion expert. I can't really speak to those things. I can just say what I feel and what I observe. I'm very observant. But the thing about her patterns is while most of her models are that younger generation, so they're the Gen Zs, the millennials, and you might naturally sort of think, well, that's not going to look good on me if I'm an older individual. That's not necessarily the case. Her patterns will still look very appropriate on us older aged women. I'm 52 and I'm wearing one of her patterns. I think I look good in it. I think it's very, with the tank top underneath, there's nothing wrong with this. So don't be afraid of those styles. Even this one that appears to be a belly shower, otherwise known as crop top, because her patterns are generally made to measure, you can always add more rows. In fact, that's what I did with this one. So I added the extra rows on the bottom because I didn't want the crop top. Now, I I didn't end up alternating because I worked it in the wrong direction, and then I realized, well, I didn't work it in the wrong direction, but it worked from the bottom up, and then I realized I wanted to add more rows after I'd already sewed it. So then I just added more rows at the bottom, which actually wasn't that hard. Had I actually been paying attention to the pattern, I would have known in the first place and had the opportunity to add more rows from the beginning. So don't be afraid to modify her patterns. She does that made to measure so that you can actually make it longer really easily, as long as you're reading the instructions, all of the instructions, not just the steps and the rounds, but read all of the instructions first, and she generally tells you how to modify the pattern. So don't be afraid if you see a top that you really love, but it happens to be a crop top. Odds are you can make that adjustment. And since it's free, you can take a look before you actually make that final decision. You will, however, just be aware that you'll need to modify how much yarn. So whatever yardage she gives you, if you decide to make it longer, you will have to adjust how much yarn you have for that. Now, if you are one of those individuals like in the older sort of age group who have, kind of chicken wing arms or arms that you're not really a big fan of anymore, you don't have to be afraid of that because she has 3/4 sleeve tops. So cute, absolutely adorable. This is something that you can totally use so that you cover up those kind of chicken wings, chicken flaps, whatever they're called. And, or just, if you're just not, I know some gals who are like, I can't do anything but, I can't do short sleeve. They're not flattering for me. The other thing I wanted to point out is that if you notice an off the shoulder look, and you're not a fan of the off the shoulder look, most of her tops are going to be customizable, so all you have to do is stitch them up higher and leave a narrower neckline so that it doesn't fall off the shoulder. I don't like the off the shoulder look. So, and I have a few tops that I made early on that that do fall off the shoulder. I gotta kind of live with those because I ran out of yarn and I can't add to it to make it no longer off the shoulder. So I just wear tank tops underneath them. But you know what? It's not my favorite, but it works. We make it work. But you can, if you think about that and you're aware of it, you can modify it from the beginning to just stitch it up a little bit so that it's not quite as off the shoulder for you. She does have some tank tops. I'm not a big fan of tank tops because I have to wear a bra and then my bra strap shows and it's just not a pretty thing. And I don't love my shoulders. I love my arms. Well, I don't love my arms, but I'm okay with my arms. But I'm not a fan of my shoulders. I think I have really narrow shoulders and they just don't look sexy. If we're being honest, not sexy. And that's okay. I just make garments that work for me and you can too. So as much as I think these tank tops are super cute, they're just not a style that I'm going to go with. If you can pull that off, I love it. So happy. This one is super cute. And I think this is, first of all, it's got a neat neckline. I don't know if this neckline would be flattering on me, but I think it's really nice. But it's also, it's using, I believe it's a sport weight. Yep, it's a sport weight yarn. And so this would make a great beach cover up. So if you're heading out, you can make it a little longer. And then, just to kind of down here, it's a light enough weight. I think you could totally pull that off. Make a beach cover up with this. I think it would be super, super cute. And pick colors that match your bathing suit. That's like a win-win. She does a lot with color, and I love that because a lot of designers, you only see solid, solid, solid. So I love the fact that she's got some of these garments that are the fun yarns that are very colorful. This is a Sirdar jewel spun, so this is going to be probably, the Sirdar is a little bit more expensive, but not terribly. But it's just super cute. I mean, you could certainly do this in a solid color if you wanted, but I think this just screams needing some color to it. I think it just makes it so much fun. She does have, of course, this really big, done in 2 days scarf. So if you live in those warm or cold climates, you can make sure that you have a blanket on hand, aka scarf, and work from there. This is the top that I'm wearing right now, the Jasper mesh top. And if we pop over here to projects, I think actually I am the most recent one to finish this. I have not actually gotten to wear this much because I finished it right at the end of the season that really worked for wearing it. So I'm actually looking forward to wearing this quite a bit this summer. This is the Jasper mesh top, and it was super easy to work up. Now, her pattern, I believe, calls for, whoops, let me go back here. Her pattern, I believe it calls for, yeah, it's a sport weight. And what I actually did is I used the DK 24/7 Sparkle. So you can't really see it very well in the pictures. Even if I get close, the sparkle just doesn't pick up on these pictures. But it does here, you can see it a little bit. So that's a DK weight, and I made it work. But then I also used the 90% Pima Cotton Valley Yarns Granville, and I love Valley Yarns Granville. It is, I think it's one of my favorite cottons to work with. It's got a little bit of wool in it, so it softens it up just a little bit, but yet it's still machine washable. It's definitely a favorite of mine. So this was it was a fun top to do. I think it fits me beautifully. I love everything about it. I learned a lot though. None of which was her fault, the designer's fault. It was all because I didn't read the pattern thoroughly before I began. There were some mistakes that I made. And this was maybe the, I don't know, fourth garment that I made, so I wasn't really garment knowledgeable yet, which should be okay. But the caveat that I'll give you is if you're really a beginner, make sure you read everything and then read it again because you're going to miss things. There are just certain notes that the designer puts in there that I read after the fact. I'm like, that would have been nice to know from the beginning. Well, guess what? I could have known that from the beginning if I'd have read the notes at the beginning and not at the end. Yeah, brilliant, I know. So this one, well, the pattern that she gave didn't change colors like mine does. What I did is I said, you know what? I've got this yarn and I've got this yarn and I really, really want to change colors on it. So I did that completely on my own. I think I did 3 rows of one color and then switched and did 3 rows of the next color. And, you know, as I said, once I got down here, I didn't have enough. The pattern was in reverse, I think is what it was, because I was going the wrong direction on it. So I didn't want to try and add it. I think it looks just fine. Nobody would know that that was not intentional if I didn't point out that it was not intentional. So I'm totally okay with it. I really like this top. I think it looks great on me, and I'm super, super happy with it. All right, so you can see there's a lot of different styles. She's got some warmer weight things. She's got some cooler weight things. She does have a lot of the meshy patterns, but they all are just subtly different in some way or another. This is also one of my favorites from her. This uses an Aran weight, so it's definitely, for me, it's a cooler weather top. Even though there's still some mesh to it, because it's using the Aran weight, it's going to have more warmth to it. But I love the fact that she does a stitch pattern and then changes it up and then goes back and then changes it up and goes back. And even the detail on the sleeves, she does one stitch pattern for most of the sleeve, gets to the elbow, and then changes it up again. And I just think that adds a really neat detail to the sweater that makes it unlike anything I've seen and makes it look like something I would have bought in a high-end store. So I'm not a big fan of the mustard color, but everything else, I think this is a great top. So let me know as we sort of browse through the last of these. There's definitely some fun options in here. Let me know which of these patterns you are looking forward to making on your own. Is there one that stands out to you? There's some beautiful colors, some beautiful textures, just lots of fun stuff in her patterns. If you've made one of Kiks and Jack's patterns, let me know in the comments below. If I've browsed across one and you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta see that one and I wanna make it, let me know in the comments below. If you have a favorite fashion designer, crochet designer that is your go-to, that kind of fits my style, let me know in the comments below because I wanna hear all of those great things from you. Yeah, and I'll see you very soon. Hey, Farah, take us out.